Sometimes, reviewing a game under embargo feels a lot like the famous Jose Mourinho phrase.
If I speak, I am in big trouble.
Not just with the publisher though, but also those fueling the narrative that Gotham Knights is somehow a bad game before it's even out. Warner Bros. Games Montreal's latest has continually been thrown under a bus in the months leading up to its launch, and while yes, some of those criticisms are valid, it all comes across as a tad unfair now that we've actually played it. Now, is Gotham Knights on par with the mainline Arkham series? No. But it's still a good game. With a surprisingly excellent story, fun combat systems, and engaging investigations, Gotham Knights differentiates itself just enough from the likes of Marvel's Spider-Man. Liam Croft over on the Push Square website has been on reviewing duties for this one, with yours truly adapting it for video. So get your cowl and cape at the ready as we delve into this Gotham Knights review. The open world of Gotham City is your playground, but that doesn't mean that the campaign of Gotham Knights veers away from set pieces and crafted indoor environments with top quality cutscenes. It is pleasingly cinematic, and you'll notice that right away as the game reveals the death of Batman in proper 4K. Killed off in the opening cutscene, it's left to his crime-fighting accomplices to pick up the pieces: Batgirl, Robin, Nightwing, and Red Hood. And they all take it upon themselves to investigate his passing, which inevitably leads them to the doorstep of some of Gotham City's most infamous faces, as well as the Court of Owls. The game makes you a part of the inquiry, with crime scenes to examine and evidence boards at the Belfry, keeping you up to date with everything the team has learnt so far. No, it's not a CSI simulator, but you will be connecting the dots between pieces of evidence, sometimes literally in the mini puzzles, to uncover new leads and come to conclusions based on your findings. It's a really enjoyable aspect that gets you involved in the nitty-gritty of the story, making the payoffs that follow all the more worthwhile. The narrative serves as the most pleasant surprise of the entire package, with genuinely interesting cutscenes and side quests to enjoy alongside the main case. With dashes of the trademark style of superhero comedy, it all comes together to form a really enjoyable plot that surprises just as much as it entertains, with plenty of twists and turns afoot. Batman's proteges can be freely swapped around at any point during the roughly 20-hour story, allowing you to test their combat and parkour abilities before committing to a main mission. You'll probably already have your favourite in mind, and personally we gravitated towards Batgirl, but it's worth experimenting just in case you vibe with another character. There are some key differences that separate the four superheroes, making each one useful in different situations. Robin's skill tree is geared towards stealth, while Nightwing charges up through evading enemy attacks. Red Hood is all about big explosions, and Batgirl can revive herself and hack into cameras and turrets. More exclusive abilities are then sourced from the Knighthood talent tree, which either grant you brand new tech to use or buff existing skills. A lot of the time you'll be building up to use these powers by landing basic punches and kicks, as well as range strikes that play about with elemental weaknesses. Each blow accrues momentum, which can then be traded in for an ability. You then rinse and repeat this strategy until everyone is dead, or sorry, knocked out. Combat is at its best with a full momentum bar and an arsenal of skills to call upon, but the rudimentary attacks needed to get there still provide a lot of joy. Fights in Gotham Knights are sort of similar to the Batman Arkham series, but without a parry or even a block button. It's much more about dodging attacks from the thugs of Gotham City and then striking when the time is right. It won't go down as the most complex combat system in the world, it is far from it. However, beating up bad guys provides a good amount of satisfaction, and inviting a friend along for the ride gives you the chance to get creative with your assaults. So that brings us on to the next point. The entire game can be played in 2-player co-op. No matter whether that's a free roam of the open world or during critical story missions, a buddy can be by your side playing as one of the other superheroes at any time. The feature is implemented really well, with progress and XP gains carrying over to your game once you return, And if you've played a later story mission with one character in another player's game, you have the option to skip it when you come to that in your own game. Cutscenes always focus on the host, but you're able to split up and complete objectives separately. Literally, you can go anywhere in the open world and do your own thing as long as it's a side quest. Having a friend by your side is a great way to experience this title, because you have someone to bounce off of and the chance to sort of test how abilities work in unison. Although it is important to stress that Gotham Knights doesn't feel like a lesser game because you're playing it on your own. We actually spent the vast majority of our playthrough in single player and never felt like we were missing out. While it's undoubtedly more enjoyable fighting crime with a friend, those who don't want to team up with anyone, you're still in for a great time. Having someone there to joke around with is needed to improve the open world exploration though, because there's not a whole lot to Gotham City. Using the Belfry as your home base, you can tour its 5 districts under the cover of night, with optional activities to complete and collectibles to find. Some of these objectives are tied to popular Batman villains like Harley Quinn or Dr. Freeze, while others are more generic tasks like clearing waves or time trials and all of that sort of stuff. They're serviceable enough, but there's little reason to return to them besides the XP gains. Jumping and swinging from rooftop to rooftop is the best way to get about, not least because the streets below reveal just how lacking the destination's nightlife is. Gotham City feels lifeless. There are very few pedestrians strolling the sidewalk, and the roads remain quiet. Everything just stays static, with your actions not really having an impact on the open world. Riding around on the Batcycle even introduces a bit of texture pop-in as cars appear directly in front of you, either causing you to swerve or crash over the top of them. Despite Gotham Knight theoretically being its own standalone IP, it still feels like a disappointment for the open world to be so one-dimensional off the back of Arkham Knight. As soon as you start unlocking the fast travel system, you'll find yourself relying upon it instead of exploring the city on your way to your next objective. Besides some hidden batarangs and a couple of criminals to beat up, you know you won't be missing out on much. Another complication is the controls, which are the type of cumbersome where it's easy to get caught up in objects in the environment and it takes an age to readjust. They feel perfectly fine when you've got a good flow built up during combat, but accidentally pressing up against a wall or perching on a gargoyle incorrectly, and the controls will put up just as much of a fight as Clayface himself. Sadly, the user interface isn't much better. There is a ridiculous number of menus that make for a very busy and very overwhelming pause screen, displaying different pieces of information on the same subject in varying degrees of detail. It makes for a really confusing interface that doesn't get any better once you scroll over to the loadout and crafting scenes, and we do not know who told Warner Bros. Games Montreal that a superhero game like this needs crafting materials, because it really doesn't. Gotham Knight gives you the chance to craft new melee and ranged weapons, and it's all completely pointless. These new versions are actually just the same pieces of equipment with better stats. Although I have to say, to counter this, there is a nice suite of costume designs which visually look fantastic, and some can even be customized, allowing you to personalize your hero's look. And this is completely unrelated to the abilities and stats of your hero. This on its own would have really been enough. And then there is the elephant in the room, the frame rate. Having received our review code prior to the announcement, we were extremely surprised to learn that the game is capped at 30 frames per second. In single player, the title runs very smoothly with only a few noticeable drops here and there. It definitely chugs along when you head online for some co-op action, especially when you're going further apart from one another, but when you're alone, Gotham Knights feels great to play. While the fact that it can output its 60 FPS on PS5 will immediately put some people off, you needn't worry if you're open to the idea of half the frame rate. If anything though, it's something that's emblematic of the entire game. It has many niggling problems that you just sort of forget about once the action kicks into gear, or a quality cutscene reveals a new story beat, or playing detective in a crime scene uncovers a new clue. With nods and references to the wider Batman universe, it's blatantly obvious that Gotham Knights comes from a place of love and care for the characters and Gotham City itself. If you have a passion for them too, there's so much to enjoy. And that really does leave us in a bit of a weird place with Gotham Knights. It's the type of game that you so dearly want to love, but time and time again it gives you reasons not to. What Warner Brother Games Montreal has here is an excellent story with top-notch cutscene directions and a fun combat system with too many needless and confusing mechanics bolted on top. If you look past all of that though, there's genuinely a great game here. So that is our review of Gotham Knights, which will be available on PlayStation 5 from October 21st. Let us know down in the comments whether you'll be picking up this superhero romp this weekend. And of course, if you like videos just like this, and anything else within the world of PlayStation, remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you back here on Push Square.